The cuffs snapped around my wrists with a metallic snap that echoed through the Walgreens in Hyde Park, Chicago, a sound that drowned out the gasps of shoppers and the hum of the air conditioner. I, Dr. Jamal Harris, a 38-year-old black pediatrician, stood frozen, my white lab coat wrinkled from a 10-hour shift, my heart pounding as Officer Nathan Cole's cold eyes bored into mine. "You're under arrest for theft," he growled, his voice dripping with certainty, though I'd done nothing but hand a prescription to the clerk. My mind reeled, me, a doctor who'd spent years saving kids, now a criminal in seconds. The crowd parted, and I saw 12-year-old Amari, my patient, clutching her asthma inhaler, her eyes wide with betrayal. Her mother, Lena, pulled her close, whispering, "Don't look, baby." But Amari did look, and that look pierced me deeper than the cuffs. I'm not just a doctor to her, I'm the man who promised she'd breathe easy again. Now, I was a suspect, my dignity stripped in front of the child I'd sworn to protect. It started 20 minutes earlier, when I walked into the store, exhausted but driven. I'd just left Chicago General, where I'd stabilized a toddler with pneumonia, my hands still tingling from the adrenaline. The prescription in my pocket was for Amari, whose asthma had flared up again. I'd launched a community health app, Breathe Easy, to track kids' symptoms in Hyde Park's underserved areas, and Amari was one of my first users. The app pinged me her flare-up, and I'd promised Lena I'd get the meds myself. The store was busy, families grabbing snacks, students buying notebooks. I felt eyes on me, not unusual for a black man in a lab coat, but sharper here, in a neighborhood where wealth and race often clashed. At the counter, clerk Linda Voss, a white woman in her 40s, took my prescription with a tight smile. "This looks off," she said, her voice loud enough to turn heads. I frowned, keeping my tone calm, the way I did with worried parents. "It's for a patient. I'm a pediatrician at Chicago General." Her eyes narrowed, and she pressed a button under the counter, her gaze never leaving me, as if I'd confirmed her suspicions by speaking. I stood there, my hands visible, the prescription's weight grounding me. Amari's face flashed in my mind, her laugh when I gave her a superhero sticker, her trust when I adjusted her inhaler. I couldn't fail her. But Linda's call brought Officer Cole and his partner, Officer Elena Ruiz, striding in. Cole, tall and imposing, exuded authority, his badge gleaming like a trophy. I'd later learn he was a rising star in the Chicago PD, known for cleaning up Hyde Park with aggressive tactics, his ambition tied to a mayoral ally who prized tough policing. His eyes locked on me, a predator sizing up prey, his bias clear in the curl of his lip. "Step back," he ordered, ignoring my question about the issue. Ruiz, younger and hesitant, glanced at Cole but stayed silent, her complicity a quieter wound. "I'm just here for a prescription," I said, my voice steady, though my pulse raced. Cole smirked, pulling out cuffs. "We know your type, fancy coat, fake script." The accusation hit like a punch, my years of med school, sleepless nights, and lives saved erased by his assumption. The cuffs tightened, and I felt the store's air thicken with judgment. A white couple near the checkout nodded, as if Cole's words confirmed their worldview. A black teen, Malik, filmed with his phone, his eyes fierce but scared. Amari's voice broke through, "He's my doctor. He didn't do nothing." Lena hushed her, but Amari's protest, a child's defiance against injustice, lit a fire in me. I met her gaze, mouthing, "I'm okay," though my heart ached for her innocence, now tainted. Cole's grip tightened, his ambition palpable, he saw me as a notch on his belt, a win for his career. As he led me past Amari, I saw her pull a "Breathe Easy" sticker from her jacket and stick it on the counter, a tiny act of rebellion that seared into my soul. I wasn't just fighting for me, I was fighting for her, for every kid who'd lose faith if I broke. The precinct van's door slammed, and I sat in the dark, my lab coat a reminder of who I was. Cole's voice outside, boasting to Ruiz about "another one down," revealed his motive: power, fueled by bias, propped up by a system that rewarded it. My wrists throbbed, but my mind raced to Lena, who trusted me with Amari's life, and to my wife, Colonel Nia Harris, a military strategist at Great Lakes Naval Station. I needed her, but my phone was gone, my call request denied with a vague evidence excuse. I thought of my father, a bus driver who'd faced slurs but taught me to stand tall, and of Nia, whose fierce love had carried me through every doubt. I recited her number, a lifeline I couldn't reach, my resolve hardening. This wasn't new. I'd faced patients' parents questioning my expertise, nurses ignoring my orders, but this was raw, public, a system baring its teeth. The holding room was cold, a single report on the table claiming suspected theft, with Cole's signature, no details. I sat upright, my lab coat creased, my thoughts a storm of anger and purpose. Amari's sticker, Malik's video, Lena's trust, they anchored me. I asked the young officer guarding me, "Can I call my wife?" He hesitated, his eyes flickering with doubt, but muttered, "Not yet." His unease hinted at a crack in the system, a human behind the badge. I thought of Breathe Easy, built to save kids like Amari, now a symbol of my fight. Cole's ambition, Linda's bias, the couple's nods, they weren't just personal, they were a machine, grinding down anyone who didn't fit. But I'd faced worse in ERs, parents screaming, kids fading, and I'd never backed down. I wouldn't now. Unbeknownst to me, Nia's biometric tracker, a gift after a night I'd vanished during a 15-hour surgery, vibrated at Great Lakes, 40 miles away. She stood in a secure room, her eyes cold, mapping my location to the Hyde Park precinct. She'd invoke Article 15C, her military authority, a sword to cut through lies. My call to her, attempted in the precinct, was jammed, a deliberate act I'd later trace to Cole's orders. As I sat, the weight of prejudice pressed harder. Not just Linda's, not just Cole's, but a city's, a nation's. Amari's sticker burned in my mind, a child's protest against a world that cuffed her hero. Anger flared, but so did hope. Malik's video was out there, spreading, a spark that could ignite truth. I wasn't broken, I was ready. The door rattled, and I straightened, my heart a drumbeat of defiance, knowing this was only the beginning. I sat in the precinct's holding room, the cuff's ache fading into a dull throb, my white lab coat a crumpled testament to the life I'd built. The silence was suffocating, broken only by the young officer's nervous shuffle outside the door. I'm Dr. Jamal Harris, a pediatrician who'd spent a decade mending children's hearts, yet here I was, branded a thief by Officer Nathan Cole's sneer and Linda Voss's baseless suspicion. My mind clung to Amari's protest. Her "Breathe Easy" sticker defiantly placed on the Walgreens counter, and Malik's video, a flicker of hope that the world might see the truth. But hope felt fragile in this cold room, where a vague report labeled me a suspect with no evidence, only Cole's signature, his ambition to clean Hyde Park fueling a career built on breaking people like me. I didn't know then that Nia, my wife, was already moving, her love a force stronger than any precinct wall, tearing through the lies that held me captive. 40 miles away, at Great Lakes Naval Station, Nia stood in a secure data room, her eyes like steel as her biometric tracker confirmed my location, Hyde Park's 3rd District Precinct. Colonel Nia Harris, 39, a military strategist who'd navigated war zones, felt her chest tighten, not from fear, but from a fury born of love. We'd met in med school, her discipline balancing my empathy, her resolve anchoring my dreams. After a night I'd vanished during a marathon surgery, she'd given me the tracker, a silent vow to never lose me. Now, it was her guide, its vibrations a call to war. She swiped her clearance card, Level 6 Federal Liaison, and pulled up a map, my signal a pulsing orange dot. "Why is he there?" she whispered, her voice low, dangerous. She invoked Article 15C, a civil military intervention protocol, and called her aides, Lieutenants Chen and Alvarez, their loyalty unquestioned. As she drove to Chicago, her mind raced, not to me, but to the system that dared to cage me, a machine she'd dismantle with precision. At the precinct, I waited, my thoughts a tangle of Amari's trust and Cole's contempt. I'd faced bias before, parents doubting my diagnoses, nurses bypassing my orders. But this was raw, deliberate, a system weaponized against me. Nia's number ran through my head, a lifeline I couldn't reach, my call attempt jammed by an unseen hand I'd later trace to Cole's orders. The door opened, and Cole strode in, his badge gleaming, his smirk a blade. "Fancy doctor, huh? Should have stayed in your lane," he said, his voice laced with a hunger for control. I met his gaze, my heart steady despite the cuffs. "I was helping a patient," I said, my tone calm, a doctor's composure. He laughed, a sound that chilled me, his ambition clear. I was a trophy, a black man in a lab coat to parade as proof of his tough policing. His mayoral ally, Senator Victor Kane, prized such wins, and Cole's eyes gleamed with the promise of promotion. Nia arrived at the precinct, her presence a storm. She flashed her badge, demanding my release records and footage. The desk officer, Officer Ruiz, faltered, her earlier silence now a weight she couldn't shake. "Article 15C, Nia said, her voice cutting through excuses. "I'm not asking." The footage, when retrieved, had a 15-second gap, the moment Cole cuffed me, erased, a deliberate wound in the truth. Nia's jaw tightened, this wasn't error, but intent. She called Naomi Jackson, a civil rights lawyer whose name carried weight in Chicago's black community. Naomi, 52, had toppled corrupt systems before, her quiet ferocity a match for Nia's. As they dug, they uncovered the Chicago PD's Proactive Safety Initiative, PSI, a policy Cole championed, allowing arrests on perceived threats. Data revealed 80% of PSI arrests targeted non-white residents, though Hyde Park's minority population was just 18%. Training videos, funded by the Hyde Park Unity Fund, depicted black men like me as high risk, Cole's voice narrating scenarios that branded us criminals before we spoke. For you, 25 to 55-year-olds who felt the sting of bias, this revelation burns, a system rigged to punish innocence. Chicago General, my hospital, deepened the betrayal. An email, leaked to Nia by a sympathetic nurse, showed the board labeling me a liability, urging me to step back for media calm. Dar. Ellen Hayes, my mentor, once praised my work with kids like Amari. Now, she avoided my calls, her silence a knife. I'd saved lives in their ER, yet they saw me as a risk, not a doctor. The pain wasn't just personal, it was for Amari, whose inhaler delay threatened her health, and for Lena, who trusted me. Nia's investigation revealed Safe Hyde Park, an app pushed by Kane's allies, encouraging residents to report suspicious activity. Linda had used it, her unease coded into a system that flagged 85% of reports against non-white people. The app's data fed Cole's PSI arrests, a digital trap for people like me. You feel the weight of this betrayal, trusted institutions turning on their own, a community app weaponizing fear. Lena, Amari's mother, wasn't silent. She called Malik, the teen who'd filmed my arrest, and they rallied neighbors outside the precinct, holding signs, "Free Dr. Harris." Amari, clutching her inhaler, stood with them, her voice small but fierce, "He's my doctor." Their protest, shared on X, reached 400,000 views, hashtag Justice for Jamal trending among your peers, who see their own fears in my story. Lena's strength, born of a mother's love, mirrored Nia's, their defiance a beacon. Malik, 17, posted on Breathe Easy, my app, urging users to share my case, turning a health tool into a justice platform. Their actions stirred my heart, even as I sat cuffed, unaware but bolstered by their faith. Cole's shadow loomed larger. Naomi traced a call to his phone, made via a burner linked to Kane's aide, timed with my arrest. Cole wasn't just an officer, he was a cog in Kane's machine, a senator shielding police from reform to protect his real estate empire, tied to the Unity Fund. Cole's ambition, promotion, power, drove him to target me, a black doctor who dared to serve Hyde Park's kids. His reports, filled with phrases like aggressive posture, coded bias into law, his career built on our pain. You feel rage at his cruelty, but also resolve, knowing Nia and Naomi are closing in. I thought of Amari's sticker, a child's rebellion against a world that cuffed me. In the holding room, I stood, my lab coat a shield, my resolve iron. Nia's love, Lena's protest, Malik's video, they were my army, and Cole's system, though vast, was cracking. The door opened, and Ruiz entered, her eyes avoiding mine, a report in hand. Verification pending, she muttered, but her voice wavered, a hint she knew this was wrong. I didn't plead, I waited, my heart a drumbeat of truth. Nia was coming, and with her, a reckoning that would expose Cole's lies and Kane's empire, a fight not just for me, but for every soul crushed by the system's shadow. I stood in the precinct's holding room, my wrists still raw from the cuffs that had bound me hours earlier, my white lab coat a tattered flag of my identity as Dr. Jamal Harris, a pediatrician accused of theft for daring to exist in Hyde Park's Walgreens. The weight of Officer Nathan Cole's smirk and Linda Voss's suspicion lingered, but a new fire burned in me, kindled by Amari's defiant sticker, Malik's viral video, and Nia's relentless pursuit of truth. Released without charges after Nia's invocation of Article 15C, I stepped into the Chicago dawn, her arms around me, her eyes fierce with love and fury. Yet freedom felt hollow. Cole's ambition, tied to Senator Victor Kane's empire, had branded me a criminal in Amari's eyes, and the system that shielded them was still standing. I vowed to fight, not for myself, but for every black child like Amari, every neighbor like Lena, every ally like Malik, who deserved a world where truth could breathe. As Nia drove us home, I didn't know that Naomi Jackson's legal blade was sharpening, that Linda's conscience was cracking, or that a town hall I'd ignite would turn Hyde Park's silence into a roar. Naomi Jackson, our lawyer, worked tirelessly in her South Side office, her desk piled with evidence Nia had secured, tampered footage, PSI training manuals, and call logs linking Cole to Kane's aid. Naomi, whose voice carried the weight of decades fighting for silenced black voices, uncovered a shadow file from Walgreens' backup server, restoring the erased 15 seconds of my arrest. The clip showed Linda pressing a panic button, Cole cuffing me without cause, his eyes gleaming with triumph. A burner phone call to Cole, timed perfectly, traced to Kane's inner circle, revealed a chilling truth: my arrest wasn't random. Cole, Kane's enforcer, targeted me to bolster his tough-on-crime image, a stepping stone to a deputy chief role. Kane, a senator with real estate stakes in Hyde Park, funded the Hyde Park Unity Fund, which bankrolled PSI's bias training and Safe Hyde Park, an app that turned neighbors into spies. For you, 25 to 55-year-olds who felt biases sting, this web of corruption sparks outrage, a system where power thrives on our pain. Naomi filed a federal complaint, triggering a DOJ investigation that shook Chicago. But I couldn't wait for courts to act. Amari's betrayed gaze haunted me. I called Lena, Amari's mother, and proposed a town hall at Greater Bethel AME Church, a sanctuary where Hyde Park's black community had long found strength. Lena, a nurse who trusted me with her daughter's life, rallied neighbors, her voice a mix of grief and resolve. Malik, the teen who'd filmed my arrest, spread the word on Breathe Easy, my health app, now a platform for justice. Over 400 people packed the church pews, doctors, teachers, baristas, students, all sharing stories of profiling. A lawyer stopped for, looking suspicious, a teacher followed in a store. I stood at the pulpit, my lab coat on, not as a victim, but as a healer. We're not just fighting for me, I said, my voice cracking with emotion. We're fighting for Amari, for our kids, for a Hyde Park where we belong. Amari, clutching her inhaler, stood beside me, her small voice piercing, Dr. Harris is my hero. Why'd they hurt him? The crowd roared, their applause a wave of solidarity, and you feel it too, a community rising, your heart swelling with their courage. Linda Voss's confession came unexpectedly. At a city council hearing Naomi pressured the mayor to hold. Linda, pale and trembling, stepped to the microphone, her eyes avoiding mine. "I called the police on Dr. Harris," she said, her voice breaking. "I didn't see him steal. I just felt scared. I was taught black men don't belong in places like that." Her 22-page affidavit, shared online, detailed a lifetime of bias, from her parents' warnings to news stories painting black men as threats. "Safe Hyde Park told me to report unease," she wrote. "I didn't question it." The confession went viral, sparking debates across X, where #JusticeForJamal hit 700,000 shares. For you, Linda's words are a mirror, anger at her harm, but a call to examine your own fears. Her honesty, raw and late, cracked Hyde Park's silence, but it didn't erase Amari's pain or my humiliation. I forgave her, not for her sake, but to free myself, my heart heavy yet unburdened. The DOJ's 200-page report landed like a thunderbolt, confirming systemic racism in Chicago PD. Over 5 years, 18 unwarranted arrests targeted black residents, all using PSI forms Cole authored, his signature a stain on justice. The report cited deleted footage, burner calls, and Unity Fund payments to Kane's campaign, exposing a machine that protected Cole's cruelty. Reforms followed: a civilian oversight board, mandatory bias training, and tamper-proof body cams. Cole was suspended, his deputy chief dreams shattered, but his defiance lingered. At a precinct meeting, leaked to Naomi, he raged, "They're ruining me for doing my job." His job, I realized, was control, his bias a weapon Kane honed to keep Hyde Park pure. You feel rage at Cole's entitlement, but hope in the reforms, a step toward dismantling his world. The town hall's ripple effect was my lifeline. Lena organized a mentorship program, pairing black teens with professionals, Malik among them, his eyes bright with purpose. Amari, inspired, started a Breathe Easy youth council, teaching kids to track their health and speak out. Their courage stirred me, a reminder that justice isn't won alone. Naomi's team traced Unity Fund money to Kane's real estate, revealing he owned 20% of Walgreens' Hyde Park lease, profiting from the store that cuffed me. Kane resigned, his empire crumbling, but his shadow lingered, a reminder that systems don't fall easily. You see it too. The fight's not over, but each crack weakens the beast. I visited Amari's home, her inhaler now steady, her smile tentative but real. "You didn't give up," she said, hugging me, her sticker on her backpack. I choked back tears, my heart full. The town hall had birthed a coalition, 200 strong, planning voter drives to oust Kane's allies. Malik's video, now at 2 million views, fueled national calls for reform, your peers sharing it with #NPSI. Cole's suspension wasn't enough. His system still breathed, but we were starving it. I thought of Nia, her hand in mine, and Naomi, her pen a sword. Linda's confession, Amari's counsel, the DOJ's hammer, they were sparks in a fire I'd stoke. As I left Amari's, Lena handed me a flyer for our next town hall, her eyes fierce, "We're just starting." I nodded, my lab coat a mantle, ready to burn the system's shadow to ash, for Amari, for you, for us all. I stood on the steps of Greater Bethel AME Church, the Hyde Park air warm with summer's promise, my white lab coat no longer a target but a symbol of survival. I'm Dr. Jamal Harris, a pediatrician who'd been handcuffed in a Walgreens for being black, my life nearly shattered by Officer Nathan Cole's ambition and Linda Voss's bias. Yet, the fire lit by Amari's sticker, Malik's video, Nia's resolve, and Naomi's legal victories had carried me here, to a community ready to heal. The DOJ's report had exposed Chicago PD's racism, suspending Cole and forcing Senator Victor Kane's resignation, but justice wasn't a verdict, it was a daily act of rebuilding. As I looked at the crowd gathered for the launch of the Jamal Harris Health Equity Alliance, my heart swelled with purpose. Amari, now 13, stood beside me, her asthma inhaler steady, her eyes bright with hope. Lena, her mother, smiled fiercely, and Malik, the teen who'd filmed my arrest, held a "Breathe Easy" banner. This wasn't just my fight anymore, it was ours, a promise to reshape Hyde Park for you, 25 to 55-year-olds who crave stories of triumph over prejudice. The Health Equity Alliance was born from sleepless nights, when I'd replay Cole's smirk and Amari's betrayed gaze, vowing to protect kids like her. Based in a modest office near the University of Chicago, the Alliance mentored black medical students and funded clinics in Hyde Park's underserved corners. I refused donations from Chicago General, whose board had branded me a liability, choosing integrity over ease. Instead, local businesses, barbershops, cafes, a black-owned bookstore, poured in small grants, their faith humbling me. I mentored 25 students, including Malik, now a pre-med freshman, his camera traded for textbooks but his fire undimmed. At our first clinic opening in Woodlawn, 600 patients came, Amari's family among them. I checked her vitals, my hand steady, her grin a balm for wounds Cole's cuffs had left. "You kept your promise," she whispered, and I choked back tears, my heart full. "For you, this clinic is hope, a tangible answer to systemic betrayal, a place where black lives are valued." Hyde Park was changing, its polished streets no longer a mask for exclusion. A mural, painted by local teens, rose outside Walgreens, replacing community safety signs with vibrant hands, black, brown, white. Linked in unity. Pastor Grace Thompson, newly elected to the neighborhood council, led bi-weekly forums at the community center, drawing 250 residents to discuss bias. I spoke at one, my voice raw as I shared how Cole's arrest stole my breath, but Amari's sticker gave it back. An elderly white man, Mr. Ellis, approached me after, his hands trembling. "I saw you cuffed." I didn't speak. "I'm sorry," he said, his eyes wet. I shook his hand, not for absolution, but to build a bridge. His wife, a retired teacher, now volunteered at our clinic, her presence a quiet atonement. You feel this shift, a community facing its flaws, your heart stirred by their courage to change. My return to Walgreens was unplanned, a quiet act of reclaiming what Cole tried to take. On a humid afternoon, I walked in to buy Amari's inhaler refill, my steps deliberate, my lab coat absent. The cashier, a young black woman, smiled warmly, unaware of my past. Mr. Ellis, shopping nearby, nodded, his eyes steady, a silent ally. I picked up the prescription, my fingers brushing the box, and felt a release, not triumph, but peace. The mural outside glowed, its colors a promise that Hyde Park could be more than its past. As I left, a teen snapped a photo of the mural, posting it with #JusticeForJamal, now at 3 million shares. For you, this moment resonates, the right to exist without fear, a victory won not with fanfare but with quiet resolve. Amari's voice at a rally cemented our fight. Organized by Lena's mentorship program, the event drew 1,000 to Washington Park, signs reading "NPSI now." Amari, recovered and radiant, took the stage, her inhaler clipped to her shirt. "Dr. Harris saved my life," she said, her voice clear, "but they tried to break him because he's black. I'm here because he didn't quit." The crowd erupted, her words live-streamed to millions, your peers sharing them with tears and fists raised. Lena hugged her, her pride a shield against the world's cruelty. Malik, now a rally organizer, handed out "Breathe Easy" flyers, turning my app into a movement. Amari's speech, a child's truth, cut deeper than any DOJ report, reminding you why this fight matters, for the next generation, for justice that lasts. Cole's downfall deepened, his suspension a wound to his ego. Naomi uncovered texts where he blamed meddling doctors for his woes, his hatred for me personal, fueled by Cain's promise of power. Cain's real estate empire, tied to Walgreens' lease, collapsed under scrutiny, his resignation a hollow victory. Cole, demoted to desk duty, lashed out in a leaked email, vowing to fix Hyde Park, his ambition unrepentant. You feel rage at his defiance, but strength in our coalition, Lena's program, Amari's counsel, my alliance, starving his system. Naomi's team pushed for Cole's termination, citing his role in 20 unwarranted arrests, each a black life he'd targeted for Kane's gain. The alliance grew, partnering with a tech co-op to expand Breathe Easy, now tracking health disparities citywide. At a clinic workshop, I taught teens like Malik to use it, their eyes alight with purpose. Lena's mentorship paired Amari with a black pediatrician, her dream to be, like Dr. Harris, taking root. Pastor Grace's forums birthed a voter drive, targeting Kane's allies in the next election. Mr. Ellis, once silent, spoke at one, admitting his fear had fueled bias, his voice shaking but firm. These acts, small, human, wove a new Hyde Park, one where silence was no longer safe. You see it too, a community rebuilding, your heart lifted by their collective will. As I left the rally, Amari's words echoed, he didn't quit. I thought of Nia, her hand in mine, her love my anchor. Cole's system was cracking, but it wasn't gone, his texts hinted at allies still lurking. Yet, our mural, our clinic, our forums, they were stronger, a testament to what we'd built. I visited Lena's home, where Amari showed me a Breathe Easy app update she'd designed, a kid's vision for justice. We're not done, she said, and I nodded, my lab coat a vow. For you, this is more than a story, it's a call to build, to heal, to ensure no child like Amari ever sees their hero cuffed again. I stood on the stage at the National Medical Association's conference in Washington, D.C., the hum of 5,000 voices fading as I adjusted my white lab coat, its fabric a testament to survival. I'm Dr. Jamal Harris, a pediatrician whose life was nearly broken by Officer Nathan Cole's cuffs in a Hyde Park Walgreens, my black skin branded a crime by his ambition and Linda Voss's fear. Yet, Amari's sticker, Malik's video, Nia's love, Naomi's justice, and our Health Equity Alliance had turned pain into power, reshaping Hyde Park and igniting a nation. As I faced the crowd, Amari's courage, her voice at our rally, her Breathe Easy app saving lives, burned in me, a reminder that this fight was for her, for every black child, for you, 25 to 55-year-olds who know prejudices sting. My story, now #Justice for Jamal with 15 million shares, wasn't just mine. It was America's, a call to wake up and rebuild. The conference stage felt like a summit, not of victory, but of responsibility. I spoke of Amari, whose asthma I'd steadied, whose trust I'd fought to restore. A child's faith saved me, I said, my voice thick, but a system tried to erase me. You stopped it. The crowd stood, their applause a heartbeat, echoing Amari's rally speech, now at 4 million views. Networks like CNN called me Dr. Harris, Reform Spark, a shift from suspect that mirrored your own shift, you who shared #Justice for Jamal, refusing silence. The hashtag split the nation, some saw me as a victim, others, like Cole, a threat. For you, this divide is personal, a challenge to confront bias in your offices, churches, homes, knowing truth demands courage. Nia, my anchor, carried our fight to the military, advising at Fort Bragg in Pendleton. Colonel Nia Harris, whose biometric tracker found me in that precinct, told soldiers, protecting America means shielding every citizen, not just those you recognize. Her report, citing my arrest, spurred Pentagon-wide bias audits. At Pendleton, a black recruit whispered, your husband's story kept me here. Nia's embrace, fierce and tender, mirrored her love for me, and you feel it, a force that fights for justice beyond borders. Her training, shared on X, led 60,000 troops to pledge against bias, a wave from our pain to their purpose, inspiring you to demand fairness in your own circles. America's culture shifted, roots spreading from Hyde Park's mural. Schools in Denver and Philly taught anti-bias lessons, my arrest a case study. A Detroit middle school named its science wing for Amari, her sticker a symbol of defiance. Corporations, hospitals, startups, diners held workshops inspired by Linda's confession, asking, what biases do we carry? A Seattle bookstore displayed our mural photo, captioned, Speak, don't hide. These steps, human and bold, stir you, showing change is daily, a choice to unlearn fear. Lena, Amari's mother, expanded her voter drive to 25 cities, her nurse's heart now a political force. Malik, mentoring teens through our alliance, keynote a TEDx event, his video a beacon for educators, his dream to be a doctor like me a light for kids you know. Breathe Easy, my app for kids like Amari, became Health Justice, launched with Microsoft's backing. With 250,000 downloads, it linked families to clinics, tracked disparities, and hosted anti-racism forums. Amari, 13, added a feature for kids to report healthcare bias, her idea born from my cuffs. At a D.C. summit, she pitched it to senators, her inhaler a badge, no doctor should hurt like Dr. Harris. Her words, live-streamed to millions, broke me, my tears pride and grief for a child forced to fight. For you, Health Justice is a tool, tech is justice, empowering your communities, your pulse quickening with its promise. Cole's ruin was final, but defiant. Fired after Naomi's campaign, he rallied fringe supporters, claiming persecution in a failed lawsuit. Leaked emails showed his venom. Harris stole my future. His allies faded, Kane's empire dust, the Unity Fund gone. Naomi's 30 testimonies, Black lives Cole crushed, sealed his fate at a hearing, their voices a chorus against his lies. You feel relief, but caution, Cole's bias lingers in others, a weed to uproot. Naomi's congressional push led to body cam laws in 15 states, my case their spark, reminding you that persistence breaks systems. Lena's drive ousted Kane's cronies, Malik's talk hit 6 million views, Amari's feature shaped health equity bills, a child's truth outshining Cole's hate. Hyde Park's mural drew pilgrims from Austin to Brooklyn, its hands a national vow. Pastors preached my story, quoting Amari, he didn't quit. Black physicians formed alliances, our model a guide. A Veterans Council in Georgia wrote, Dr. Harris is our kin, his fight ours. These voices, fueling #NPSI's 12 million shares, echo your resolve to speak out. I returned to Chicago General, not as a liability, but a speaker, my lab coat a shield. Colleagues who'd shunned me listened, one nurse confessing, I failed you. Her tears, like Mr. Ellis's, were steps forward, and you feel their weight, a nation learning to see itself. Reflecting on my journey, I see lessons carved in pain and hope. I learned that silence is prejudice's ally. Amari's sticker, Malik's video, Linda's confession, they spoke when others wouldn't. I learned love, like Nia's, is a weapon, fierce enough to topple empires. I learned community, from Lena's drive to Pastor Grace's forums, is stronger than any system. Most of all, I learned truth is a seed, plant it, nurture it, and it grows, even through concrete. Cole's cuffs didn't break me, they forged me, a doctor who fights not just for health, but for justice. As I left D.C., a student clutched Health Justice, saying, you're my why. I hugged her, Amari's face in my heart, knowing this fight lives in her, in you. If you were in a similar situation, with elements like social context and racism, personality and status, how would you approach it to achieve the best possible outcome? Would you lean on your community, like I did with Lena and Malik? Would your status, doctor, teacher, parent, shape your fight, as my lab coat did? Would your personality, calm, fiery, strategic, guide you to speak, like Amari, or act, like Nia? I stood at a Hyde Park barbecue, Nia's hand in mine, Amari laughing, Malik grilling, the mural glowing. Cole's world was ashes, but ours thrived, clinics, forums, apps, votes. For you, this is a vow, I'm Dr. Jamal Harris, and I fight for Amari, for you, for a nation waking to breathe free, its heart beating with truth.